Have you ever been in a conversation where you're listening to people talking and you're noticing that they're not actually listening to each other? It actually happens a lot more frequently than you think. And the reason for that is that a lot of people go through life and they're just hearing, they're not listening. There's a big difference between listening and hearing. My name is Payman Lim. I'm a Salesforce project manager, and today's session, I will share with you some of the lessons I've learned in my 12 years as a Samaritans volunteer, and how it's helped me become a better project manager and a better person all around. So let me share with you a couple of things that I hope that you'll take away today. Most of all, I'd like you to take away two key takeaways today. One is a 6-digit number, and the next one are steps on how to close the gap. I know it sounds very odd, but trust me, I'll bring the talk around, and so you'll be able to understand what I'm trying to talk about here. So what's Samaritans? Samaritans is a charity. It's an organization that aims to reduce suicide by providing emotional support to people who need them. Well, a few years ago, I was in an abusive relationship, and if I knew about Samaritans then, I would have been a caller. So now that things are better in my life, I've decided that it's time for me to give back. You can notice on the screen, there's a 6-digit number, 116123. I hope that that's a number that you remember, because you don't know when you might need it. You don't know if a friend might need it. So that's a very crucial number. It's a free phone number for those of us who live in the UK. And it's on 24/7. We are also available on emails. You can see the email address there, joe@samaritans.org. We're also rolling out web chat to a lot of our branches, so that service will be available on a more 24-hour basis. On top of that, Samaritans also provide festival support. That means we go to festivals like music festivals, Leeds, Reading, Glastonbury, Bloodstock, and Crisis as well. Crisis for Christmas is a charity that provides shelter for the homeless during the Christmas season, 10 days between Christmas and New Year. And I've had the privilege to volunteer for Crisis for quite a few years. So what I do is I spend my time talking to people, telling them about the service, telling them about what we do, and of course the 6-digit number. So I go around and I tell everyone, do you know the 6-digit number is? And they'll tell me if they remember. And I remember this one time, there was this lady who had gone through quite a rough time in her life, and she didn't feel like talking. That was fine. But at the end of my shift, what she did was she tapped me on the shoulder, and the only thing she said to me was 116123. And I'm really glad, because even though she wasn't ready to speak to anyone at that point in time, at some time in the future when she's ready, she's got the number. So there you go. There are 20,000 of us, more than that now, because this number was taken in 2018. And there's 201 branch all around the UK and Republic of Ireland. And I'm really proud, because last year was a year that a lot of people needed us. And many of the branches stayed open throughout, even though there was a lot of our volunteers who were self-isolating. So the rest of us still went to branch. We had our standard operating procedures. We made sure we kept each other safe, and we still provided the correct level of service for our caller. So how do we do this? How do we do it? How do we support our callers? We provide something really, really simple. It's not rocket science. It is active, non-judgmental listening. We're there for our callers. and we listen to them. What we do is we hold a safe space for them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you some of the techniques that we use at Samaritans under the active listening skill. So hopefully you can take some tips away with you and you can use it with your friends. This, what you're seeing here, is called the active listening wheel. Let's start with reacting. When someone tells you something, we show that we're empathic, we're listening by reacting. That sounds really hard for you. That news must have really shook you. How did that feel? Wow, that's amazing. So it's reacting on what the other person is saying. We use open questions to get them to talk a little bit more. So how did that change you? How did that feel when your partner said this to you? We also have summarizing. And this is a really good tool because when our callers call us, their feelings and their thoughts are quite jumbled, like the tumble dryer. So what we do is we don't advise or don't counsel or give any guidance. We help them take out their thoughts and feelings, fold them up and put them neatly, and so that they can see it maybe from a different perspective. So summarizing with their words in our way helps to do that for them. We reflect. So sometimes the caller isn't able to carry on or quiet and reduce. We just reflect the last couple of words or phrases. You said you were angry. You said that upset you. No? And that will get them to talk a bit more. Clarifying is a very useful tool to find out what they mean when they say something. And that is always very good to help them understand, give names to the feeling that they are experiencing at that point in time. We also use short words of encouragement to encourage them to carry on, go on. No, that's something. And finally, we use silence as well. So you don't always have to jump into any silence and try to fill in any silences there. Just give a few moments, few heartbeats for the caller to compose themselves maybe, and also for you to process what you're listening. So what you see here is what we use. It's, like I said, very simple. It's not rocket science. And I hope you have taken some tools away that you can use with you in your personal and your professional life. Here's a bit about me. I'm a project manager, which means that I really love diagrams. I really love diagrams, especially if it's in the form of Gantt chart. So I'm going to use one to tell you a story about me in my timeline. So what you can see here is my career. So I started working around 1995. You can see from the orange bars at the bottom, that's where my experience with Microsoft partners is. It's quite big, punctuated by a short stint doing my postgrad degree, and a short stint with Remedy partner, putting in call center solutions and help desk, and another one around 2012 where I joined an end user for a little bit before moving over to join the Salesforce ecosystem from 2014, where I've been since then. To give you a bit of context, these are the Windows systems that I've used right in the beginning from Windows 95. Actually, before that, even Windows 3.1 or Windows 3.11, if you consider the network version. Before that was DOS. We didn't talk about that. Let me give you an overview now. So in my entire career, I have had about 25 years of project delivery within the consulting industry, of which the first about half, I was a technical consultant right at the beginning, infrastructure and databases before I moved to CRM. And in the final half, I was a project and program manager for the projects that I worked on. And within the last about 12 years, I have been a volunteer with Samaritans, and that's affected how I've run project and how I've run my team quite significantly. It's part of my identity, and I also rope in my 3 lovely children to my activities. They know that every week I have a shift where I go and I talk to people who might be a bit sad. So this is them helping to wrap presents, fundraising for my local branch, and yeah, they're very tolerant of me. Thank goodness. So what have I learned from being a volunteer? Very first thing is how to listen, how to just be curious, to be engaged, to be truly there for our callers, and not have anything else in our minds. Really, for that time, our callers is the only one who is important to us. So in the professional life, person that I'm talking to is the most important person to me at that point in time when I'm talking to them. This is a bit hard, but I learned how not to judge, how to put my opinions, my thoughts, my point of view, my judgment right in my pocket when someone's talking to me. I may not agree with what the caller is saying or what they're sharing from an ethical or moral standpoint, but I don't share that with them at all. It's about them. So when I'm talking to my team members, it's the same thing. I keep my judgments to myself, because who am I to judge? I have not lived their lives. I have not experienced what they've experienced. They might have experienced some really, really tough things. So really, it is not up to me to judge. So I keep that to myself, and I make the space very, very safe for the callers to listen to be in. I learned how to be patient. A lot of our callers have grown up in a environment that hasn't been very supportive, perhaps, who haven't encouraged them to speak or to share what they've thought. If you've grown up thinking that you want to be creative, but your parents want you to move into academia, and you've been shamed for loving dancing or things like that, you've been taught to keep your things to yourself. And so for a lot of people, they find it hard to speak. And I've learned to be patient, because it is very important for them to know that they are safe with me. I'm very, very impressed with podcast hosts and interviewers who are able to use really good questions to get the guests to share memories that they haven't thought of, or to trigger a thought or a discussion point that they've never ever considered. So I find the art of asking insightful question a very fascinating topic to me. So I studied on how to ask Socratic questioning, for example, and gently ask caller or the other person how they've come to think the way that they think. And if they're making assumptions, how did they come up with that? And that will give them another perspective on how they're feeling as well. And that leads very nicely to also learning how to probe very, very gently, in a very tactful and sensitive manner, on how they feel, what they think, and to peel back the layers, like the skins of an onion, on everything that they think that they know about themselves. So questions like, what would happen if the other person said something slightly different, or if the situation was not what you thought, or what you wish had happened or would happen, or how can you change things? So very nice, very gentle ways of rephrasing things and getting them to see things from a different perspective, which then allows me to also help them explore how they're currently feeling, what got them to this point, and how to and options on how to move forward. Because as Samaritans, a lot of people call us when they feel that they only have that one option, but maybe there are others that they've not thought of before. And by asking different questions and framing things differently, perhaps they might get a slightly different perspective, a change in emotion, a change in state, just by using words and helping them see the situation from different angles that they may not have considered before. So these are a few things that I have learned. However, the one key thing, about the most important thing that I have learned is this actually. It is that unhappiness is caused by the mismatch between expectations and reality. The expectations might be an internal one, things that you think, I would be happier if I got this job, or getting married would solve all my problems and I'd be really, really happy. Or if I had a child, I'd be able to keep my husband. And reality didn't turn out to be that way. If the expectations are internal, so things that you expect of yourself, that's not quite got up to reality. You expect to pass the exam or get that job and you didn't get it. So reality and expectations are not matched. Then you're liable to feel frustrated and upset and angry. If that expectation is external, so from your spouse, your partner, your parents, your teachers, your workmates, your siblings, your teammates, co-workers, friends, family, then this mismatch will result in disagreements, breakups, divorces, arguments, and just general unhappiness. So this is what I found that is quite true to a lot of people. And how do I apply that to project management? You might ask yourself. Before I start that, let me just segue into something that Google got really, really obsessed about in 2012. They were very obsessed with trying to figure out what the formula was in creating the perfect team. And they came up with Project Aristotle. What makes an effective Google team? It was a 2-year project, 200 over interviews with over 180 active Google teams, and they studied over 250 traits. Is it because of the Belbin role models? Is it because of the way communication styles are being had within the group? Is it gender-based? Is it due to technical or business focus, etc.? But actually, what it boiled down to was 5 different traits, just 5. The first of which underpins the rest, and that is psychological safety. After psychological safety, you've got dependability, structure and clarity, meaning, impact of the work. All of that come together to create a high performing team. But the first one, psychological safety, is the most important. It is there to create trust between the different team members. It is a place where people can be vulnerable, can say what they feel, what they think, without being shamed or being told that they're wrong or dumb or stupid or just talking rubbish. It allows my team to tell me when they think I'm wrong in a very tactful way. It allows them to share their worst feelings of, I think this project is not going great, the risks are too big, I don't think that our approach is right. Can we think about how to tackle this? There's no shame, because we don't direct it. We don't say you're the one, you're the one who came up with bad idea. No, the psychological safety means everyone treats everyone else with respect and where everyone feels safe. It allows people to be who they are. What that means is it helps me to understand their worldview, how they came to think what they think, to feel what they feel, and to believe what they believe. And this safe space allows them to be who they are. And I think that the most fundamental human need is the need to be seen, to be heard, and to know that they matter. And when you hold this space, it's really safe space for them to be who they are. That's what you're telling them. You're telling them that you are important to me. I hear you and I see you. Talk to me. This is your place. And because of that, I found in my team, they are very likely to be open to almost anything that you say to problem solve. And that's really great in a project environment where we may have competing goals. So my goal as a project manager is we need to do this project properly. I may have a team member whose goal is to do everything perfectly. I've got nothing against perfect unless it takes too long and is over the scope of what we've built within the project. So in a safe space, we can have a discussion and find a way to align all our goals. Taking us back to item number 2 on the takeaway list is closing the gap. Now, going back to what I was talking about is this expectation gap. As a project manager, I'm the one on the right. I think maybe this is where I think we should be. And my team member might think this is where I think we should be. So there's an expectation gap there. And what we want to do is, for a high-performing team, is to make sure that that gap is aligned. And how do we do that? How do I do that? It's by active listening. I listen to them. I understand where they're coming from. And then I share what I think. And this process can be very quick, maybe a couple of meetings or so. It can take a bit longer. I have to say also that a lot of times that my expectations get reset and I get told, hey, that's not the way we're going to do things because of these reasons. Okay, that's fine. I understand. Let's change our strategy and how we're doing things. So by doing that, I close that gap between what I think we should be doing and what they think we should be doing. So very quickly to wrap up, the only tool, or the most important tool, it's not the only tool that I have, is empathetic, non-judgmental, active listening, which is something that I've learned from my years at Samaritans. And this leads to just a lot of trust between my team members within the team. And that creates a situation where they feel psychologically safe, and that leads to a high-performing team that can go on and do projects again and again and again without burning out, because we're there for each other. So going back to the 2 key takeaways that I mentioned right at the beginning, the 6-digit number, I hope you can remember that. 116123, it's a free phone that you can use within the UK. It won't show up in any phone bill, by the way, for obvious reasons, that you can share with anyone who needs it. And how to close a gap, which is the expectations gap. And it's all by active listening. I hope you found my session useful. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much.